Hello everyone, welcome back. In this part, we're going to talk about JavaScript Date objects. For saving dates in JavaScript, we have object called date, and we can simply create our variable and then use our new keyword and use our date object right here. And now if we run, it's going to create a date object and save current date, time, and second inside of our date object. And if we print our date to our console, you can see here, if we run, we're going to have the date and time of when we run our code. And pay attention that this is not going to change and go on. And this is static time, which is set to this variable inside of our code. For creating our date object, we have several ways. This method and this syntax is going to set current date and current time to our object. But if we want to create and save some specified date to our code and our application, the first thing that we can do is to pass a string of our date to our date object. So here, let's say we want to have our March 4, 2024, and let's say we want the clock to be 5:30. And here, if we run this code, you're going to see different time inside of our date. So now if we run, you can see this is not the time that we entered into our code. And that's because this is where your region is and your time. But this is going to convert that into UTC, which is static and as same as Greenwich time zone. And if we want to save exactly that time inside of our code, we just need to add another Z at the last of our string right here. And now if we run, you can see we got the exact time that we put right here inside of our code. And of course, you can have no time right here and only save the date. And again, if you run, you're going to see that inside of your console. And the time is going to be 0 as default. Another thing that you can pass to this date object, which creates and saves some dates for you, is 7 numbers, each one after another, which defines the first of all our year. After that, we're going to have our month, then the day that we want, and after that, it's going to get the time, which starts with hour, then minute, of course, and after that, we're going to have our seconds. And we can have milliseconds after this. Let's say we want this milliseconds right here. And now if we run, you can see that we got this date printing and our time has changed to UTC time. And if you don't want to save milliseconds, of course, you can do this. And pay attention that what month you put right here, it's going to be the index of your month. So our first month is going to start from 0, which is our January, and our last month, which is December, is going to be 11. So in this example, which we want our 4th month, we need to give and pass our 3 index into our month part. Let's say here we don't want our milliseconds right here. We can delete it, and if we run again, you can see again our code runs with no matter going on. But we have our milliseconds in 0. And of course, we can delete our seconds just like that too. We can delete our minutes, and again, it's going to be 0. And pay attention why this is not 0 is because of our that we put here, which is going to convert to UTC. And in my case, it's 1.5 hour different from UTC. And that's why I got 1.5 hour less in this printing. And if we clear our right here and run our code again, you can see we got 8:30 right here, which again might be different based of where you are and what is your time zones. And you can use your two numbers right here, which is year and month. And if we run this again, you can see we got the last day of previous month is going to set. And this is again because of time zones, which if you in different places and time zones, this might be different too. But you might say if you use this, it's going to set only the year and none others. But if you run, you can see that we got this date, which is not similar to what we put right here. And that's because it's going to be milliseconds after of our first time creation for our systems and computers, which zero time for our computers is January 1st, 1970s. And pay attention to the fact that this time is in standard UTC, and if we put only one number right here, it's going to calculate that many milliseconds after our time, which here you can see that we got these milliseconds here. And pay attention that let's say you want to save a date and you put 2024 right here. You put maybe number 4 index for your 5th month and maybe the day 16 right here. But if you remove these 2 digits from here and put only 2 digits inside of your code in the year part, it's going to calculate as 19th centuries. And if you run, you can see that you got this 1924 instead of 2024. So be careful with this date year parameter right here. But let's say you want to put, for example, 1807 right here. Now if we run, you can see again we can have values before of 1970s, which is zero time for computers. And that's not going to perform any rule for us to can't save any dates before or after of that year. And in part of milliseconds, let's say we want this bunch of milliseconds inside of our code. And if we run, you can see that we got this time right here. But because this is number, we can put minus to this. So it's going backwards from January 1st of 1970s. And now if we run, you can see we got this time and this date instead of previous one, which is this one. But let's say in some cases, you want to save only your year. What should you do? Because if you use this kind of format, it's going to recognize this as milliseconds. And you can see that we got this date right here. So if you want to put only year, you need to pass that year into your date object as a string. So now if you run, you can see you got this 2024 instead of that zero time and millisecond type of thing going on. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.